Hello everyone, I just wanted to go over some things in the coursework. As we transferred from Insight NC to my Neosho and we have new instructors on board, I just wanted to clarify some things as maybe we've forgotten some things along the way or we just never learned things. But from the first thing I wanted to talk about was just the assignments. So most of you already have an assignment built out, but in the case that you need to add a new assignment, I just want to make sure that you understood there were 4 types of assignments available: from online, file upload, the forms, of course, and the basic. I would avoid using basic just because you can't really grade those very well. A lot of times they seem to be for reading, and then the instructor doesn't go back and make those inactive after the due date. So it just looks like there's all these assignments out there that are pending a grade and are not graded on time, when that's actually not the case. So just be aware of that. In case you didn't know, you can import an existing assignment. This takes you out to your file cabinet. From there, you can select any previous exam that you've created and click the import selected. You'll get a box. Click OK that it has been. This is now ready for you to edit. But if you go out, you can see here it is. It's inactive. You can now change the name, go to Test Builder, make your changes here. So just in case you also didn't know, import questions is available. Let's say you wanted to add some more questions from another exam to your final. You can select all the parts of the sections of the assignment, or just one. In this case, we'll just say matching. When you click import selected, it'll give you another box. You click it OK. When you click back to the test builder, you can see now those matching questions are here. Just want to emphasize that there is a reason why it's important how you name sections. Hopefully you have more than just one, exam with 440 points worth of questions all running together. But anyway, that's just an example of that. So next I wanted to go through modifying an assignment that's already out there. Of course, you click edit this assignment. You're going to see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections that you can expand. The first, just make sure that the name of the assignment is clear for the student to find, that it matches what's on your schedule, things like that. If there is an outcome associated with it, it really needs to be listed here so it makes it clearer, easier to find when you go to link those with your outcome assessments. If you need to move an assignment, you can click a different module here, but we're already in module 2. This is a quiz because it's just a textbook questions that they're just going over. It's unlimited because they're only getting 10 questions out of 30. So we're just going to call it a quiz. It's available to everyone in the class, expected that they do it. In this case, the due date's already out here and passed. I just wanted to clarify right here. A lot of times I'm still seeing midnight as the due date, which is confusing to students because it actually makes it the day before, and avoid that whenever possible. I don't know why you would want to hide the assignment from the calendar feed, but you can here. In most cases, I don't accept late submissions. Others might. Make sure that that is made perfectly clear in those circumstances that you will. Make sure that you communicate whether they're going to get so much % off or points off the total or per day that they're late. And then this display to students before it's open. I use this during midterm and finals. It's important that students know as much ahead of time as possible if those are proctored, if they're timed, how much time, what span of time is that going to be open, because we don't necessarily have 14 days for that to be open. It can only be open after were, allowed that first day, and then sometime before the end of the semester. And so often I don't give them that entire time because I need time to grade. Something will always happen, it seems like, when they're proctored. So I always have a cushion at the end. So I have all that spelled out in those instructions on those exams. So I click this to display before it's open so that they can see that. Based on rules that I define generally, I use that for, especially, let's say, back to the final and midterm. I'm going to go ahead, if it's midterm, maybe at the beginning of the semester even, I'm going to put the date that I'm going to allow that to open well ahead of time. But there's other ways that you can do this part, including adding rules and groups. It could be with a date, with a certain assignment. Do they pass that assignment? Especially with midterms, maybe you want them to get all the assignments done in the module prior before they can go ahead and get started on the midterm. So that can be done here, graded and included in final grade. There are options for extra credit. I do that, for instance, if I'm giving extra credit for students to attend Kahima, but those are kind of the exception. What I will touch on here with the graded is, for example, in this case, this particular assignment is graded by rubric. And so there's all these definitions and expectations out there so that they know if they're proficient or not. And it's all spelled out, how many points they're going to get. And it's very defeating that this is out there and instructors don't use it, and then students come back and complain about unfair grading. That's part of why this is here, especially if it's a paper. It's one thing if it's multiple choice. Clearly that doesn't make sense to have a rubric, but if it's a long essay or a paper, it's necessary. And then they can see their grade either as soon as it's available or after the due date has passed. You can pick that to your choosing. I would say I just caution you about using the show class average to all students. There's times when that's perfectly appropriate, but students kind of, with small classes, tend to kind of talk amongst themselves, and I just leave that to your discretion. As we go to step 2, online assignment options, again, there's a lot to pick from. Often I choose as soon as the due date is passed and it's fully graded. In this case, it's a multiple attempt exam, so I want them to know after each attempt, you can choose after the due date or anytime they can review the test to see the answers that they missed. You can show them all questions or the questions that they did not receive full credit on. And this part gets missed often. When you close the review access, they can't go back in and look at those semesters down the line when a friend's taking the class or things of that nature. So by the end of the month, I always put that date in there, and so then it's done. They're not going to look at that any further. You can hide answers during their review. Auto grade, I use this often. If they missed it, they got a 0. I don't need to, go out there and assign a 0 necessarily, especially if it's something like this. It's multiple choice. It's just a 0. I use time limits, especially on finals and midterms, depending on the assignment. You don't have to have that on every assignment, obviously. Minutes, hours, or days are available. Pagination sometimes confuses people or they don't understand, but rarely are you going to have one question per page. It's maybe 5 questions if it's a really long, drawn out exam with one section. I usually use one section per page, or maybe none if it's just a couple essay questions. That's certainly not necessary. I don't use forward progress, lockout. The shuffling of the sections, if you have a lot of them, especially in a final, it's just another way to avoid cheating. You can lock them out of the screen. Would just kind of caution that in the past, this and the respondus lockdown sometimes end up kicking the student out. And if that's a proctored exam, then you get kind of panic phone calls from the proctor wanting to know, what to do. So it is a good way to try to avoid cheating, but just be aware that there may still kind of be some glitches with that. Extra credit, it doesn't hurt to click that, especially if you do have an extra credit, maybe at the end of a chapter exam or something, or more like a unit exam. Password, I use that for finals, not just for the usual assignments. And then in this case, like I said, they're getting 30 questions out of the pool to pick from. They're only going to get 10 at a time. So they just, in this case, they just need to be reviewing that information out there. I always let them know that they're going to have to wait 10 minutes. So they should be reviewing that information that they missed on the test. But even if they don't, they're still going to have to wait 10 minutes before they can do a retake. This shows them where they're at in the retake progress. Like I think it says here, it recalculates the grade after each attempt. Now I always have this set to highest grade received. So that's not maybe as critical as some of the others, but they won't see the grade until the test has been turned in. And then step 3 on the instructions, the description and the instruction sections need completed. In this case, they're not completely identical, but I do let them remind them and give them a visual of what textbook they're using. Some classes use multiple textbooks. It needs to be spelled out and clear on what textbook they're supposed to be using. And this tells them the who and the what. They're going to complete an online exam by selecting the most appropriate answer, and this one only includes multiple choice questions. I'm letting them know there's no time limit. I also am letting them know they can retake this test, that they will get the highest score of those retakes. There's also a note about the 10-minute waiting period, and then another visual of how they're going to start the exam. This just specifies, again, it'll be chapter 1 that they're going to be reading, and any other supplemental materials, there's nothing here, but then they're going to take that chapter 1 exam. And just reiterates a second time what the expectations are of that. And step 4 is when we link those assignments to the outcomes. In this case, there are none, but if there were, this is how you link either the whole outcome, the whole assignment to the outcome, or just specified areas. In this case, there's only exam out there, and then you would save your assignment. As another example, this case studies assignment clearly has the student learning outcomes noted 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is kind of out of the ordinary. We wouldn't usually have that, but this is kind of a comprehensive exam at the end. So when you go to Test Builder, you can see I've made those easier to figure out here. The outcomes are named by each section. And then when you go to edit this assignment, when we're doing the outcomes again, you can see that these options are here that we can link to each one, which works fine. Also, you can go to assessment, And I think there's something kind of wrong right now. Oh, it's working. So you can also link, yeah, there we go. Also, if you get the yellow screen of death, you can always email help@neosho.edu and give them a screenshot of this, and they can kind of see where the problem's at and get back to you. But I just wanted you to also know you can link them from here. So as an example, this is an upload assignment, and these are the description and instructions. So this is not an appropriate way to use step 3 instructions and files. This is another example of lack of information that I will be fixing. I've already fixed the test builder, in which case I've attached each case study directly. So I'm going to delete these attachments here. Just be sure that if you need some documents attached for the assignment, that you add them here so that they're available. If you update them or change them, they need changed or deleted out of here. Another thing I find is that there's outcome information that's old, and outcome 2 may be in this description for the module, but outcome 2 is actually way down in module 5. So also to clarify, you should be using modules with the rule of 8. Sometimes I see there's like 15 modules, which is really not necessary. There should always be some kind of introduction. Like, there are no outcomes in module 1, but I'm letting them know this is to acclimate you to the layout and the expectations of the course. We're going to do all these assignments before we get started on the textbook. In this case, we're going to start out. But when there are outcomes, I let them know which ones, and then it's clear which assignments are tied to that. But these get very muddied. Sometimes it's just almost like half a page of information that's old and doesn't apply, and it looks really bad. And so you should be able to group things in a logical fashion right at 8 modules. Again, this is an example where there are no outcomes, so I'm just letting them know we're talking about special populations and healthcare costs. So to recap a few things, first, use the appropriate assignment type and the appropriate question. So if really what you just want is one essay question, is that really something that they need to upload, or is that just a question online that they fill in that's easier for you and the student? If what you're wanting is, for example, a correct code, wouldn't that be a short answer versus making that an essay? I see a lot of these things, and I just think it would be easier if you evaluated really what you were wanting from the student before getting all that laid out in the assignment. Make sure that you have a consistent layout with your assignments. If you are accepting late assignments, then that probably needs to be throughout that module or the course or however, not just one assignment here and one assignment at the end. And there needs to be some consistency in how you go about those and what day and time that they're going to be graded. All these things need to be consistent and spelled out with precise descriptions. If you want the assignment done in a certain fashion, you need to communicate that in detail in those instructions and assignment descriptions. I hear a lot of complaints about, well, this student turned in this way. How ridiculous. Well, that's what you asked them to do. If you wanted them to do it in a better way, in a more thorough way, you needed to communicate that. They did the bare minimum, but they interpreted was required. And be sure to group your assignments logically within your modules. Again, this was just going over the assignment module in my Neosho. Reach out if you have any questions, and we can go over some other aspects in my Neosho at another time. Thank you.